And especially if I'm thinking about, I don't know, 2020 when supply chains were a disaster.
Supply chains were really tough to manage right after COVID. Capacity was constrained across literally every platform. And this was right around the time I still remember, we first launched cans around like 2020, 2021. And when we were trying to get a run of cans, well, first off, we found a really small co-packer because really that's what we could afford at the time. And the biggest cost for us at the time was investing in a die line for a shrink label. Really, we had like a shrink sleeve label at the time. And every time we did a new design or change of color or what have you, that meant having invested a little bit more money into a new die line and then paying that upfront fixed cost. And so we weren't big enough at that stage, but that's on really the packaging side. However, what really unlocked massive efficiency is when you take one more step above and you start going into printed cans.
Yes.
So what you saw from the iteration with Jack, and when he showed that first iteration that we had, really that is a shrink sleeve can, has a thick shrink sleeve on it, and that was done by a previous co-packer. And we were able to gain 35% savings
Yep.
overall on the product, moving from that into a printed can. Now, of course, we had to go from doing 50,000 minimum unit runs to 200,000 minimum unit runs.
I think it's awesome because I don't think what a lot of consumers realize is the importance of like that margin gain you just talk about when it comes to scaling a brand. Because sure, you can, buy a can for whatever, $2 and you can sell it for $5 and people think like, wow, you've made a lot of money. But the fact is that not only cash flow is incredibly important, but you got to be doing marketing, you got to be out, like you have employees, like you have all this stuff. And so when you start talking about saving 22 cents off of a shrink sleeve and buying a can for whatever 8 cents instead of 30 cents, it's like that is a massive win. If you can outlay the cash and if you understand that there's risk of obsolescence, right?